Hi guys, and welcome to the War Room and another, you got it, fantastic Testimony Tuesday. So, I told you last week that I was going to be done with that era and move on to something else, but I always pray about it to see which direction the Lord will have me go in. And as obedience to him, he did tell me to stay right here in this era. So I have one more for you guys. I'm trying to wrap it up in this era, but I have to be obedient because he knows what he's doing and he is setting a path for me. So I'm going to stick with it. So we're going to stick around this area of my life. And this testimony, we're going to go back to where it all started, the beginning of it, and how things, I guess one could say, kicked off. And that was the age of 9. I remember that so vividly because that's how old I was when he first started anything that he started with me. I was 9 years old. Confused and not really understanding as the ages as I got older and different things, but it does explain why my dislike for him was as strong as it was by the time I got to be a teenager. So if you are just looking for the first time and this is the first one you're looking at, I would advise you to go all the way back, starting with the first testimony back in July, and work your way up till now. That way you won't be lost when you hear me talk about some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, or in any of the other testimonies that I've already talked about. You won't be lost because you're not skipping in and out. If you follow them in order, then you'll begin to put two and two together and you'll understand why I went in the direction I went in. So here we go. I was 9 years old. I can remember my mom being gone from the house. I'm not sure if I even recall where she was at that time, but I know she wasn't at home. She may have went to the store. Just a little recap before I go into that. I remember telling you guys in another testimony that he would go to the store and to have them remove all of the alcohol so that when my mom comes in, she wouldn't be able to get it. Well, his goal to do that was to go to the first 4 stores within, I want to say, a 16 block radius, and make sure that he had them remove all of it so that when he sends her to the store and they say, hey, he already came in and told us not to give it to her, so we have to tell her no. She had to go to every store until she came back with what he needed. And that was his goal, to make sure that he got up early enough, like he was working a job, to go and make sure that they would remove it, so that when he sends her to the store and the store says that, hey, we don't got it, and she got to go to the next store, it took maybe 2 hours or so for her to get back, because she would walk. And he knew that he had already done that. She didn't know. So she would go and she couldn't come back without it. So however far she had to go to find it is wherever he stopped at. The last place he stopped at, right when she was giving up, she had to go to another one because she didn't want to come back without it and have to face arguments, fights, and all of that. So that was one of his goals, and this gave him time to do whatever he needed to do. He was very skilled, very wise, and he was. So he knew the time frame. He knew how long he had to do whatever he had to do with any of us. Again, it's my testimony, so what he had to do with me. So I don't recall my mom being there that day. I know she was probably gone to the store or her sister's house. I'm really not sure at that point in time. But she was gone for a long time. It was a little bit, about an hour and a half or 2 or something like that. I recall him, and I do recall my siblings being there that day because we were all in the room playing when he called my name. He called me out of the room, and I had a nickname. Don't want to say it on here because I don't need nobody sending me no messages calling me by my nickname. So he called me out and he said, hey, go in the kitchen and give me a glass of water. Okay, I told you I was from Chicago. I don't know, our pipes was clean up there. We could get cold water out the sink. We could just let the water run and fill up a glass and it would be ice cold. So he would call me to go. He called me to go and get him a glass of water. But he said, let the water run first. Give it a little time to run because I need it really cold. So I'm in there. I'm letting the water run. I'm not feeling ill because like this is the first time. This is the very first time he started with me. So I really didn't fear him. But I always had this chill like something was wrong because why he calling me out here, he didn't have a shirt on. He had his boxers on and some socks. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm getting the water ready and letting the water run, and I'm just in there just singing to my own tune in my head because me and my siblings were playing in the back. We used to have fun, y'all. We used to imagine and make believe, and we used to reenact certain movies that we saw in musicals and stuff. So we was back there having fun. And I'm in there waiting for the water to get cold, and then he says, because the way the kitchen was designed, he couldn't see me at the sink, or I couldn't see him in the front room at the sink. So he was already sitting on the long couch, and he said, okay, that's enough. And I start to bring the water to him, and then when I come out of the kitchen into the living room, I looked and I dropped the glass because I was afraid of what I saw. This man had already undressed himself completely, and he was sitting on the couch, and he was worked up. I'm trying to make this as clean as I possibly can, y'all, but for y'all that know what I'm saying, he was already worked up, and he was helping himself work up. And so I dropped the glass because I'm like, I had never seen anything like that. I was terrified. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't even think to clean the glass. I dropped it, and he looks at me and gives me this evil smirk and just was like, don't worry about that, and clean it up later, come here. And as the glass fell, my siblings heard it, and somebody ran to the door, and he was like, he cursed and said, get the H in the room and close the door. So I'm taking that opportunity to try to run to the room to go and close the door. Like, I want to go in there with them. Like, I don't think it was all my siblings, but it could have possibly been. We're like the Brady Bunch, so it was 3 girls, 3 boys, but I'm not sure. I can't even, honestly, it's crazy how I remember this, but I can't remember exactly how many were there. So I'm trying to go run in the room, and he goes, I need you up here. So I'm breathing heavy, and I hear the door close because it made a noise like cacoon. So I knew the door was closed. So I'm like, now I feel alone. I'm out here with him, and they in the room having fun, and I'm just like, ain't nobody gonna come out here with me. So I'm scared. I'm starting to breathe heavy. He knows I'm scared. Relax, calm down, you okay? So he takes my hand and he places it on areas of his body that I should not even be touching, and he begins to make me work and do some things, and I'm shaking, and I'm like, I don't want to do this, and I'm talking back, and I'm, just as a kid, as kids, you don't think you're in danger when you talk back, because sometimes kids get smart, and you be like, some parents notice it as a smart mouth. Some kids, they just bold like that. They know how to just be bold, and I was always bold until all of this happened. I lost all of that. I don't know if I was a smart mouth kid. I don't ever recall my mom saying I was, but I know within myself that I used to be able to stand up for myself back in word. Never physically, but in word I did. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. That ain't my job. And he begins to see the pushback from me, and he says, you're going to do what I tell you to do. So I'm crying and I'm scared, and then he said, okay, he noticed I'm crying, so he makes me sit on the couch. And then he starts to talk to me. He had already had the Vaseline sitting on the table. So he grabs a jar of Vaseline, and he grabs some out, and you can use your imagination of what he does with it. And then he makes it seem like it's an easier thing to do with that. So I'm sitting here crying and scared, because now I'm thinking he finna do something. The next thing I know, he tells me to take off my pants. And I'm like, no. He said, take off your pants. You okay? I'm telling him no, I didn't want to do that. So he stands me up and he takes him down and he takes my shirt off. So now I'm completely dressed like him in my birthday suit. So he makes me sit down on the couch and he says, relax, you'll be all right. And I lay down on the couch and I'm just crying my eyeballs out. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This ain't nothing I want to do. So I'm starting to make noises because I want my siblings to come out. I want them to hear me crying, because every time we heard somebody crying, we would run to the door and see. And that was only every time we heard mama crying. It wasn't somebody crying. It was my mom. We would all run to the door and try to see and try to scream and cry and say, please stop, don't do. But he would hear the door make a crack to open. He was like, I said close the door, you know, curse and tell him don't open it. So they push it back closed. And so then he begins to take his hand. And of course, I'm not going to verbally say everything because I'm not comfortable with that. But you could just imagine, he took two of his fingers on his right hand, because he was right-handed. These two here, he had put the Vaseline on it. He begins to explore my body, if I can say that. And I'm jumping and I'm crying and I'm shaking, and I used the bathroom on the couch, which ticked him off. And so he stopped and he called me names and said, you know, why are you making this so hard? And he tells me, he gets up and he goes in the kitchen. He threatens me to stay right there, and he gets wasn't a paper towel. It was like a dish rag, like a dry off rag. And he gets it and he just wipes the couch off, and he said, you have to explain to your mama how that happened. So then he wipes it off and he said, get up. So I get up quick and I'm thinking I'm finna put my clothes on and dress. He said, I ain't tell you to go nowhere. He said, go over there and give me another glass of water and watch out for that one, because he never let me clean it up. So as I go over there and run the water, I'm crying, and I just want to put my clothes on. I just want to put my clothes on. And before you know it, I hear the TV come on. He took the remote, cut the TV on, cut the VCR on. No, the VCR was on because it was like, shh, like that. And I didn't wait this time for the water to get cold, because heck, I had just ran that water. I'm sure it's still cold. So I put the water in the glass and I'm like, here, daddy. Because, you know, back then I thought it was my dad. So we had to call him daddy. Here, daddy, here go the glass. And he was like, he was laying on the couch. By that time he had laid back, acting like he was so sick and hurt. And he was like, okay, sit on the table. So I sit on the table and I reach for my pants. He said, leave that down there. He said, go over there and put a movie in for me, which he used to often do. And after this day, this is how he introduced himself up on me every time. He would ask me to come and put a movie in, but he would already be laying there in his birthday suit, worked up. I really try not to say that other word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Already worked up. So he tells me to go put the movie in, and I'm going on the side where the movies are. So, because he had everything labeled, as I told you guys in the last testimony, he had everything labeled and on shelves. And so I'm thinking, do I go to funny? Do I go to action? Like, he didn't tell me what to put in. So first thing I'm trying to grab, I'm just gonna grab something. He said, no, not from that shelf. Go on the other side. So I go on the other side. Everybody knew that side was forbidden. That was his X-rated movie. So he tells me to go in there. He tells me which one to get and put it in. So I put it in. I get it and I put it in. Oh, I don't know what happened. I don't know if, I didn't know much about the spirit realm back then, but I felt a lot. But I felt something. It just felt like something came through that TV. And oh my gosh, he was so worked up. He made me put that in. I put it in. I ran back over there to grab my pants and try to put my stuff on, because I'm just like, surely he watching this movie, he can get excited himself. He don't need me he don't need to mess with me. That wasn't the case. He made me stand there and watch that horrible movie with him. That horrible film. I'm 9. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm looking at. I don't want to see this. What is wrong with you, man? Are you crazy? Stuff I'm saying to myself. So I'm watching this, and the first thing on there, it was, I'm not going to go into all of that, but it was a woman doing things that to a man that was just, in my little mind, that was just horrible. Because I'm like, she shouldn't be able to talk after that. So that was the first thing he started me out with. So he goes, he uses the same rag that he wiped the couch off with. He poured the water on it from the glass that I had gave him, and he cleaned himself from the Vaseline that he had put on there. Because I guess he had plans on trying to do that at 9, but you know, he changed his mind, and of course that didn't happen later till I was 13. Cleaned himself off from that, and he sat up on the couch like a general. He sat there and he said, "Get over here. Get down on your knees." I started crying. I started begging. I was like, "Please, Daddy, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that." And of course, he was already mad because I used it on the couch. I only did number 1, y'all. I didn't do number 2. So now I'm really scared because what I'm seeing this lady do on this tape, I'm terrified. Then I go again on the floor, and he said, "You gonna stay in it. You gonna stay your butt right there in it." And he grabs me by the back of my head and he forces me down. And of course he threatens me and tells me that I bet not this and I bet not that, and you can use your imagination because I really don't want to say it. You better not do this, you better not do that, you better do this, you better pay attention to what I'm telling you, because if you make a mistake and if you do this and do that, I'm gonna break your neck. And so I'm already scared. So now you threatening me. Now I got so many things in my head. I'm juggling. I don't know what to do. What if I do accidentally do that? What if I do accidentally do this or that? My neck gonna be broken. So I'm just thinking about getting my neck broke, and I accidentally scrape him or whatever. He pushes me and he punches me in my eye. He punched me so quick, and it wasn't the type of punch to black my eye. He took this part of his knuckles and he just thumped me right in my eye, and I'm like, ah! So now I'm screaming, and he tells me to shut up, and I'm just crying louder and louder. And he knew he just waiting, because I guess he knew they were gonna come out, and he said, "You better not open that door," threatening him and this and that. So nobody opened the door. So I'm crying and I'm crying. So they must have thought I was in trouble getting a whooping, like I had did something, because he always made it look like somebody did something when he called them and separated them from the rest of the kids. He made it look like that person was in trouble getting a whooping or something. So I'm crying, and tells me shut up, and he tells me to continue. So he's guiding me like this. He's guiding me and making me, he's guiding and forcing. And when he's finished, because he was also watching the tape while he was doing that, and I guess he got himself so excited and worked up to other things happened. And I began to kind of like throw up in the middle of what was happening. Use your imagination, people. I just really, I'm not comfortable with going into detail. And he tells me, because in the middle of it, I guess he couldn't say nothing because he was, I want to say excited, and not in the way of that it was coming to the end of that thing. And we'll leave that right there. I was throwing up because there was some stuff that I didn't understand that was happening at that moment. So I started to spit up and throw up, and while he's making all of his excitementness noise or whatever, he tells me I bet not stop. So I mean, you forcing me. I can't go anywhere. I don't know what's going on. So he continues, and then when he gets to the end of that thing, he pushes me back and tells me I better swallow. I better not quit. You know, I better not throw it up, or he gonna make me lick it up off the floor. So now I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And he threatens me again, and then he punches me in my stomach, and I have no other choice. So now I'm just like gagging, and then so I just threw up again, and I was like, to heck with it. If I have to lick it up, I just have to lick it up. But it never came to that, because he knew that was just disgusting, and there was no way that I could do that at that age. So I'm throwing up, I'm gagging, I'm coughing, I'm crying, I'm begging. I'm literally pleading with this man, please let me go in the room. And as I'm doing it, he's just laughing. He laughing. He gets the towel. He wipes the stuff up, wipes himself, wipes the stuff off the floor, throws the towel at me and say, "Clean yourself up." So I'm like, I don't want to use this towel. So I'm like, I toss it back on the floor like I had an attitude. He was like, "Fine, your choice." Then he curses at me and say, "Get your clothes on and get over there and clean that glass up." So I put my clothes on first because I didn't want him to look at me in my birthday suit and decide he want to finish doing something else. And I go clean the glass up. I throw the glass in the garbage, which I have to account for a glass that's gone because, of course, my mom was going to notice the glass gone. She wasn't like that anyway. It was really him. He was going to find a way to make me look bad because that's when he started saying that I was bad. He started putting things in her head and telling her that I was a bad kid. And I would make up things and I would throw things and drop things and break things on purpose like I was mad at her or I did something. That's where it all started, with him saying I had an imagination and all of that, because he wanted to set a path with my mom to make it look like I was a troubled kid and to get her not to believe me so that he could continue to abuse and do what he had to do. So after I got through finishing everything, I just knew for sure he was gonna make me stay in there. So I came and I stood right there. I just stood in the kitchen like this and I was crying. I was like, "May I please be excused? May I please go? Can I please go?" He was like, "Yeah, get out of here." So I went straight in the bathroom, of course. I put water in my mouth, rinsed, spit up, did the Listerine or whatever we had back in the day. I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of mouthwash. It was burning too. It was hot. So I got all that cleaned my face up, and then I had to put my big girl outfit on. Like I had to go in the room and say that I dropped the glass, and I got in trouble for it. I couldn't say what happened because, of course, he had just threatened me. Of course he did. Of course he did. This was the training ground. This is when he first started training me on that, and threatening me with my mom and anybody else that I loved. And so I went in the room and I act like nothing ever happened. And he was like, "What happened to you?" I said, "Daddy asked me to get some water and I tripped over that little thing right there in the kitchen and I broke the glass and I got in trouble." And they was like, "Well, he hit you?" I said, "Yeah, he slapped me. That's why my eye." They was like, "Oh, I see it." So we get back. They was like, "Oh, come on, let's finish playing." So we get to finish playing and everything, and that day was over with. And I want to finish this up, so I'm just going to say that every time it happened from 9 on up, that is exactly what happened. The second time was scarier because the second time he didn't have enough in his system, alcohol, drink, whatever. And well, no, I can't say that. I can say he had enough in his system because that time he was sober. This time he had something in his system. So he was just laying on the couch already in his birthday suit, and he would just say, "Go put me a movie on." And I would hope he wouldn't call me, because every time he asked me to put a movie on, he picked which one he wanted. And the one that he wanted was always something very vulgar that he wanted to try with me. But it was always that form. That form and invade my body with his hands. I'll just put it like that. And as a kid, y'all hear me say this all the time on videos, that I was too young to understand or comprehend any of this stuff that was going on. I just knew it was wrong. I knew that wasn't my place. That's not what I was supposed to be doing. But I had so much fear. The spirit of fear had come into my life, and it came in every time I saw those tapes. And sometimes he would just watch them and he probably wouldn't mess with nobody. He would just get with my mom or whatever he felt like doing. But he watched them when we were home regularly. It didn't even matter. It didn't bother him, and it was really sickening. And I was always afraid of that. So seeing things like that, spirit of fear, came on me. And my mind, my thought process was always racing. I had to be an adult at my age. I couldn't think like a little kid. I couldn't have fun like a little kid because I was always in fear that something's going to happen to somebody. Not only that, I had took on the mentality I couldn't be bold anymore. I couldn't talk. I had to be quiet. Had to learn how to keep a secret. Because sometimes he was real rough and mean when he would do that, and the other times he was really gentle and nice and try to make you, and not excusing that when I say gentle and nice either. Just try to make me think, "Oh, okay, you didn't like that, I'm not gonna do that. Well, let me see something else. You my angel," and stupid stuff like that, little nicknames and things like that. And so my mind was always racing to the next time. What's happening, this or this or that. I could never focus on being a kid. I tried with my siblings and we had so much fun with each other. But my mind was always thinking on other things. And I could never keep my mind on being a kid. So as I got older and as I am an adult today, I do understand and I do realize that that portion of my life was just it. It was the past. It was a portion. It was something I went through. I'm not going to say I had to, but maybe I had to go that path to get where I am today. God has a plan for my life. He has something for me to do. And I'm going to walk in it with full authority because that bonus that he gave me years ago is coming back. I am bold enough to tell my story and to talk to others and share with you guys, you viewers, my story. Not because, as I always say, and I'm not going to keep saying that because I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe nobody no apology. That is my story. If God said that this is the pathway to where I want you to go, and this is the forerunner, your story is going to be your forerunner because everybody got to have a backstory, then I'm going to let him do it. I'm not going to be ashamed. I'm not going to keep silent. I'm not going to harbor ill will. I'm going to tell it and do what God tells me to do. And right now what he is telling me to do is to tell my story and encourage others and let them know that there is hope after hopelessness. Let them know that there is faith after fear. There is trial. There is triumph after trials. There is victory for every victim that has endured something in their lives. No, sister or brother, your situation may not have been like mine. It could have been a little worse. It could have been a little less. You could be saying, well, hey, Robert, how could you, man, you just sit there and you talk about it with a smile. No, I'm not talking about it with a smile, honey. I'm just talking about it. But I smile. You want to know where that smile comes from? That smile comes from the joy of the Lord being placed down on the inside of me. This joy that I have, I promise you, the world didn't give it to me. Guess what? The world can't take it away. They can't take it away with the things that are being done, the things that are being said. Can't take it away. Because this joy was placed in me by God. And you know, I got here because I look back over my life from 9 on up to 48. And I see every area of my life that God has been in it. And how he has kept me and sustained me and brought me out. That joy don't come from man. Because if you leave it to the world, they'll have you thinking on those things and everything you went through, and you'll still be a victim in your mind. I'm no longer a victim. You are no longer a victim. So, today, beloved, I want to read you a scripture. Now, I normally will quote it, but, you know, sometimes people view my testimonies. They say, hey, Robin, this will be cool if you do this, you know, let them know you're reading the word. Everybody know you know it. So why don't you just read it, or you do this or you do that. And I don't even consider that. I don't consider the fact that I just know the word down on the inside. And that when I quote it, it does seem a certain way to certain people. You're going to have to check yourself for that. Hey, the word is just down. I didn't hit it on the inside of me so that I won't sin against God. But I will take that advice and I will read this to you. It is Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, and whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report. Not the negative energy worldwide system. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. If there be any virtue, virtue, a behavior. Oh, let me give y'all that. Behavior or showing high regards for someone or somebody. Okay? Okay, I'm not on here to teach. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me get back to the testimony. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So now it comes together for me as when I think about the things that happened to me in my past, I'm no longer in that state of mind that I was when I was a little girl. I'm not trying to figure out all the things I got to think on. I couldn't be a kid, but I'm thinking on these things. I'm thinking on the things that are lovely, that are pure, that are just. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, anything God has done for me, I'm going to think on these things. And I try my best every single day that even when it's time for me to tell my testimony, I'm prepared. No, I don't feel no type of way about it. I had a friend, a good dear friend, bless your heart, I love you, girl, call me and say, hey girl, I'm just checking on you because I watch your testimonies and girl, they make me feel some type of way. And I just want to see how you doing because you got to talk about it. And I said, I'm good. And we had a little conversation, and when I got off the phone, I said, Lord, I am good. How come I'm good? How come I'm good? Because there are people who are still holding on to this, things that happen to them in their life like this, and they shut down. They're different. They can't talk about it. They take the testimony out of it, and it's no longer a testimony. How come I'm good? And he said, I will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on me. Your mind is never on what you went through. It's on me. So when it's time for you to go before the people and tell your backstory and tell your testimonies, you could do it with a straight face. You can do it without feeling ill will towards that man. You could do it without feeling ill will towards anybody and without feeling shame. There is no longer any shame in my life. Went through what I went through. It's done. It didn't break me. I'm not broken. But I am a new creature in Christ. And so are you, beloved. And if you have went through something in your life similar, I don't know if I could say that word on camera, but if you went through anything, any kind of abuse, childhood trauma, in this form, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. So I want to pray for you. And this is something new that I just didn't think about doing before, but I want to pray for you, beloved, my brother, my sister. And I want to pray the peace of God over your life. And I pray, this is the beginning of my prayer, but I pray that God's peace will overtake you. His blessings will shadow you. And his love will run you down and overtake you. I pray that the peace of God will become your portion. I pray that your past will be just that, your past. I pray that you will get your voice back, that you will stand in the holy boldness that God has called for you to stand in. And I pray that you will triumph over every trial and tribulation that you've ever had in your life. So I break that hurt, that bondage of hurt, that bondage of shame, that bondage of brokenness that you have suffered in your life, whatever it is. It may not have been this type of situation. Whatever it is, I pray for you, my brother and my sister, and I pray that you will find the peace of God that surpasses all understanding and let it guard your heart and mind through him, through Christ Jesus, because that is the only way we can make it in this life. We all need Jesus, believe it or not. You can believe what you want to believe. You can say God ain't real. You can be an atheist. You can do whatever you want. But you know what my Bible tells me? That at the end, when he comes back, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that he is the Lord and Savior. So whether you want to admit it now or not, later you will eventually have to do so. But my prayer again for you for that is that you will receive the peace of God for your life. And if telling your story is what you have to do, tell it. If talking to a therapist is what you have to do, talk to him. But no more shame. Don't walk in shame. As we spoke last week, don't walk in condemnation either, because there is therefore right now at this point in your life, this season, no condemnation to you, my brother, my sister. So you walk in love. You walk in the peace of God. And know that God adores you. He loves you. He's not mad at you in any way. Hey, everybody goes through something in their life, and the reason they have to go through it, it's their backstory. And they're called to do something for God. I don't know how big my assignment is for God, but I tell you what, I say yes. And whatever he tells me to do, I'm going to do it with no shame. I'm going to do it with boldness. And I'm not going to do it according to what men think I should do and what they say I should do. But I'm going to do what thus saith the Lord every time he tells me to go and do it. So I love you, beloved. Thank you for coming into the war room with me. And if you have any prayer requests, hey, you can go ahead on and jot them down below in the comment section. I would love to pray with you. I would love to pray for you. Okay, you go ahead and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can go ahead and view it on Facebook or TikTok, whatever your preference. I'm new at this whole social media thing. I mean, I be on here, but I don't be on here. I'm learning through my siblings, my younger siblings, my older generation of kids, and my younger ones, because I'm just not into all of this. But I like what God is doing with the Testimony Tuesdays, and I pray that they are being a blessing to you, beloved. And I pray that every time you view one, that it helps you in whatever area it needs to help you in. And I just pray that you will find God so that you can get that peace that you need to be restored in your life. Again, we'll see you next Tuesday. Same time, same place. No, we can't never say the same time. Same place, War Room, yes. We'll see you next Tuesday. God bless you. Thank you for viewing.